Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 335 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and also an author. Our third book is called From Letters to Leaders, Leveraging Your Fraternity or Sorority Experience to Land Your Dream Job. That launched on Amazon not too long ago, so go and pick up that book today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, we published our first book back in 2021, but it's so addicting once you get rolling. We're now thinking about what our fourth book should be, so be sure to drop us an email or an instant message to let us know what topics your fraternity or sorority students could use help with going forward. Speaking of books, let's get to our next guest. Noah St. John is also the only author in history to have works published by Hay House, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Mindvalley, Nightingale-Conant, and The Chicken Soup for the Soul publisher. His 20 books have been published in 18 different languages. A highly in-demand keynote speaker, Noah St. John is famous for inventing AFFORMATIONS, which is a new technology of the mind, and he helps companies and individuals get rid of their head trash so they can reach their goals twice as fast with half the effort. Noah's engaging and down-to-earth speaking style always gets high marks from audiences. Meeting planners call Noah a big draw and a must-have resource for every organization. As a leading authority on how to eliminate limiting beliefs, Noah delivers private workshops, live events, and online courses that his clients call mandatory for anyone who wants to succeed in life and in business. He's got a new book to promote, so we invited Noah St. John to share with us again on our show. Welcome to the show, Noah.
Great to be back, Michael. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure being with you. I learn new stuff all the time, and your episodes are very popular. So, hey, we're going to go back to the well, and I want to learn more about the new book.
All right. Well, here it is. It's number 20. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. It's called The 7-Figure Life, How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. So tell our audience, what made you want to publish this particular book now?
I have been very blessed over the last 25 years to make really over $30 million in online sales, as well as help my clients add over $2 billion in found revenues. And so a lot of people have been begging me to write a book like this. This is actually my most personal book that I've ever written after 20 books. But I really wanted to share my journey and my story of how I was able to do this, but more importantly is how other people can get there a lot faster and easier than I did, because it took me way too long to get there, much longer than I would have liked. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but basically it was getting a lot of bad advice from all those gurus out there who can't teach their way out of a paper bag. And so it's like, thanks a lot, but I was able to, get all those arrows out of my back finally, and, was able to put it together. And, that's what was the impetus for the book.
I love talking to you because you believe that business is everywhere. I mean, there's money to be made all over the place. Yeah. I also share that abundance mindset. I believe there's tons of business out there for speakers in the higher education market and other markets. Yep. And I actually work with my competitors all the time. I support them any way that I can. I like their messages on social media, put comments, and when they call me asking for advice, I'm happy to help them. And I think if you don't have that abundance mindset at this particular moment, let's say you're listening to this going, there's no business out there for me, I don't know what I'm going to do. How do you go from off to on in terms of this abundance mindset?
I love this question, Michael, because I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. So I know that's a total cliche, by the way, but it's totally true. I grew up in a little town called Kennebunkport, Maine, which is one of the wealthiest communities in New England, but my family was dirt poor. And so from a very young age, I was painfully exposed to the gap, the chasm really, between the haves and the have-nots. The haves was everyone else in the community, and the have-nots was my family. And so I grew up with this, what I call this not enoughness, right? Or poverty consciousness, whatever you want to call it. I just call it the belief in not enough, right? And so I make the argument, to this day, that almost all human problems really boil down to this issue of not enoughness, right? The belief that there's not enough money, there's not enough opportunity, there's not enough love, there's not enough support, whatever it is you want to say. And so people, as you mentioned, they get into that scarcity mentality. So that scarcity mentality or the poverty mentality really keeps people stuck. That's one of the things that keeps people stuck. And so moving from the scarcity or poverty mentality to that abundance mentality where you say, well, wait a minute, there's more than enough. All right. I mean, just look at money, right? And the way that money works is very simple. You have some and everyone else has all the rest. That's pretty much it. So it's like you're not going to have all the money and you're not going to have no money. I mean, and everybody and going back to, one of the reasons that I wrote this book, and by the way, you mentioned the subtitle is the 4 focus factors. Mm-hmm. So, the point is that money is one of the 4, I call them the 4 focus factors that people think there's not enough of. All right. And the other 3 are time, energy, and relationships, right? So if you look at time, energy, relationships, and money, those make up what I call the 4 focus factors that contribute to you having an abundant life. Now, I could have just as easily called this book The Abundant Life, or the More Than Enough Life or something like that. But I decided to call it The 7-Figure Life for a number of reasons, but basically because that's a very popular term right now, is people saying, man, I really want to get to that 7-figure level. And I've helped so many people over the last 25 years to get to that, even the 7 and even the 8-figure level. And now I coach a lot of 7 and 8-figure CEOs, and business owners, in the work that I do. And so when we look at not enoughness versus enoughness, I strongly believe, and I mean, I lived that. I'm the guy that grew up with not enoughness. So if I can do it, if I can go from not enoughness to enoughness, and then of course the final phase is more than enoughness, that's like where you're at, because you're giving from that well of experience and love and just advice that you have, and you're not waiting for somebody else to give it first. So you're coming from that place of more than enough, which is commendable.
I mean, I just believe in karma. I just try to help other people. And I believe if I do that, then good things are going to happen to me. And you know what? I've made a career from that. I mean, new relationships, everything else, all of this stuff just comes because I'm freely giving. Right. I mean, that's literally it.
That's right. It sounds simple because it is simple, but most people don't get it. And they, they're coming from not enough. Right. And I know what that's like. Like I said, I mean, that was my life for the first 30 years of my life. Mm-hmm. The first 30 years was the belief of not enough, and of course, the worst of all that is I'm not enough. Right. Mm-hmm. In fact, ironically, my very first newsletter, email newsletter, when I started my company, which is called SuccessClinic.com, that's my name of my company. I started in a 300 square foot basement apartment in 1997 in the middle of a recession, with $800 to my name and a book on HTML. So you want to talk about not enough? I was living not enough, right? Yeah. And so I said, what a great time to start a business. Yeah, what? But hey, I didn't know any better. But I mean, really, I just had a dream and a vision to help people. As corny as it sounds, as cheesy as it sounds, I really wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference, as Steve Jobs put it, put a dent in the universe, right? Yeah. And so my very, very first email newsletter, way back, well over 20 years ago now, was called You Are Enough. You are enough, because I realized that is, in fact, the number one problem facing millions and millions of people right now, is the belief that I'm not enough. Now, what's so ironic about that is I stopped publishing the newsletter, or stopped calling it that, after a few years. But now there's lots and lots of people that jumped on that bandwagon after I built the bandwagon. I was like, you're welcome, everybody. Thanks for jumping on after I built the thing. Now, lots of people are talking about, you are enough. I'm like, no kidding, really? I didn't know. I wrote that 25 years ago. Anyway.
I love it. Now, the college student listeners who are listening right now, many of them are guilty of procrastination. Yes. When it comes to their assignments at school, when it comes to studying for exams that are coming up. How do the college students stop this procrastination?
Yeah, absolutely. And that, again, going back to the 4 focus factors, that's the first one I talk about, your focus factor of time. In fact, it's right there. And it says how to stop procrastinating and start living. And the reason that I start there is because that's the number one problem that people come to me with is, hey, Noah, there's so many distractions out there. I'm finding it so hard to stay focused. And, can you help me focus? That's literally the number one complaint question, that I get from my clients, from people on YouTube or my social media. And let's face it, we live now in a world of infinite distractions, right? Right at our fingertips, every second we have, these, I call them the ICBMs, right? And that stands for the Infinite Comparison and BS Machines. And keep it family friendly there. But anyway, so they at our fingertips every second we have literally the world of infinite distractions at our fingertips.
Mhm.
And so how the heck are we supposed to deal with this, right? Because remember, and this is a really important point for everybody watching and listening to the program, is that those social media companies very, very consciously want to keep you addicted to those platforms. They do this very much on purpose. It is not an accident. That's what all those algorithms are. They are 100% designed to keep you addicted to that platform. Why? So they can make more money. I mean, and you say, but Noah, well, but it's free. I'm not paying anything to be on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever. I'm like, no kidding. You are the product. You, everybody, you, me, the 2 billion, everybody else who's on these platforms, we're the product. They, pay, or advertisers pay these companies so that they can show ads to you and me, and based on our interest and da 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 da. That's all the algorithm. All right. So the point is that, like people ask me all the time, Noah, how did you write 20 books? How did you actually do that? And I always answer the same way: by writing them. I wrote them by writing them. Now that sounds like a flippant answer, but it really isn't. It's actually the exact true answer, because, in order to do anything, in order to complete any project, you have to, generally speaking, you have to sit there and do the stupid thing. You have to write a book, or, if you're creating a blog post or a video or whatever it might be, at your job, or, in your own business or whatever it might be, you have to do the thing, right? But when we have a world of infinite distractions at our fingertips, how do you actually do it? So, one of the things that I talk about is the power habits of unconsciously successful people. That's another one of my books, and also, coaching that I do with people. But the point is that highly successful people have developed, one of the unconscious habits that they develop is this ability to focus, right? And that really comes from knowing why you want to do this thing versus not doing it. But it also comes down to knowing what a habit really is. See, most people are out there, and if they say, well, Noah, I know I need to stop procrastinating, and they try to use willpower to, change that habit. That's not going to work, right? That's literally the worst way to change a habit, is to try to use willpower. So what we teach with my power habit system is what a habit really is. And very briefly, it's 5 steps: the cue, the routine, the reward, the craving, and the belief. Now, again, just very briefly, the cue is what happens in your world, the trigger. Then you have the routine, that's what you do. Then you have the reward, that's what happens in your brain when you do this routine. Then you have a craving to keep doing the routine. And then you finally develop a belief. So many, many millions of people, college students, entrepreneurs, business owners, people just working, they have this belief that says, I'm a procrastinator. I always put things off to the last minute. That's just a belief. Okay. But what's amazing about that is, if you believe it, you're going to behave to make it true. So we have to start by changing our beliefs, and then we have to change our routines. And believe it or not, once you understand those 5 stages, which I talk about in my books and my coaching programs, it actually becomes a heck of a lot easier than trying to use willpower, which really doesn't work very well.
Makes a lot of sense. I like that. Now, in the new book, you also talk about 4 resources for daily energy. What are those 4 resources?
That's right. So that's the energy part of the 4 focus factors. And so energy, really, we humans have 4 sources of daily energy. That is the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. All right. So if you think about us as beings, as human beings, we're not just one thing, we're many things. So basically, when you look at your daily sources of energy, all right, and that basically energy is how you go through your day. So if you think about time as what you're doing in your day, energy is how you go through your day. Okay. So the point is, when we look at time and stopping procrastinating, that's the kind of things that we have to do, like I was just talking about. Well, now when we look at energy, we also have to look at those 4, the 4 ways of using your energy throughout the day: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So physical is, of course, your physical body. So that means you need to exercise. You need to eat right. Oh, really? No, I know it's boring. I know, I get it. But it's like, imagine if you had this beautiful sports car, and you poured gunk in it. You poured, I don't know, orange juice or something. You poured something silly in it, right? What's a good example? You poured milk in it. Whatever you know what I mean? You don't put the right gasoline in it. You don't put the right fuel in the car. It's not going anywhere. Well, it's the same with you, with me, with us humans, right? We have this body that we've been given, and it's very easy to eat bad here in the United States, right? That's what all those companies do. They put all those carbs and all those sugars in there because it's profitable, right? Notice we keep coming back to that theme, don't we? Isn't that interesting? Anyway, so the point is you got to understand what, creates and also what robs you of your physical energy. Same with your emotional energy, right? Every day we have emotions that we go through. Well, there's there's positive emotions or negative emotions, right? Positive, joy, gratitude, happiness. Negative would be resentment, anger, fear, envy, whatever. So it's pretty obvious to see, am I going through right now positive energy or negative emotional energy? Then we have the mental energy, which goes back to the point of focus, right? Making sure we have those focus times. And then the spiritual. That means connection to something greater than yourself. Emerson said that the greatest joy is to give your life to something greater than yourself. And I've definitely found that to be true. I know you know that, Michael. You have a big mission. I have a big mission. That's why I started 25 years ago in a 300 square foot basement apartment with no money, because it's like, man, I really want to change the world. And so for everyone listening to the program, find that, connect yourself to that mission. And that's what's going to get you, through those tough times.
I love it. Now, there are some really motivated people out there. I've looked up to sports idols, people like Michael Jordan, for example.
Right.
And he had a motivator in his life. His name was Phil Jackson. And Phil
Yeah.
Jackson knew exactly what buttons to push to get Michael Jordan to score 50 points a night. I mean, so even the most motivated person on the planet to succeed had a motivator. And I talk to college students all the time about looking at the people who surround them and ask yourself, are these people really adding to your lives, or are they subtracting from your lives in terms of your careers and your life goals? So how do we attract the right people to surround us?
Well, that goes to our third focus factor, relationships, right? So yes, we have to surround ourselves. So the first thing about that is, and notice how all of these really work together. The four focus factors of time, energy, relationships, and money, they totally do work together, and you can't really take them apart. They all have to fit together properly. So once you understand your mission, like I was just talking about, right, your greater why to, as I call it, well, then you want to say it a lot, right? You talk to people about it and you say, hey, you know what? I'm on a mission to change the world. And here's what my mission is to whatever it is, XYZ, right? And then you're going to attract people. And what's really nice about that also is you're going to repel people. Now, that might sound funny because some people say, well, I want everyone to like me. I'm like, no, you really don't. No, you don't. Do you really want axe murderers to like you? Is that a good idea? I mean, come on. There's a lot of people that you don't really want on your bandwagon, if you see what I mean. So you want to attract the right people, but at the same time, you want to repel. So for example, when you go to our website, like I have one of our website funnels is called breakthroughwithnoah.com. And I show how I help people make more in just 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months while winning their lives back. So that's breakthroughwithnoah.com. You can watch a short video on that. But basically in that video and on that page and in that funnel, I actually show who I like working with and who I don't like working with. And some people say, well, that's weird. Don't you want to just have everybody? And I'm like, no, are you kidding me? There's lots of what we call high maintenance clients, shall we say? And yeah, you don't know. They're more trouble than they're worth, And so that's just one example. So I want people to realize that, and for years I made that mistake. I thought I had to have everyone like me and I had to work with anyone, who would ever pay me money. And that was miserable. So don't make the mistake I did. Remember, I got all these arrows in my back to prove it. So don't do that, right? It took me a long time to realize, wait a minute, you mean I get to say what I want, because I just let everybody tell me whatever to do. And I'm like, okay, I was like, what are you doing? Wait, I get to say, and I was very disempowered and because I had very low self-esteem. And so, working on myself through all these years and gaining some self-esteem, I started to say, wait a minute, here's who I don't like working. I don't like working with people who are lazy. I don't like working with people who, expect me to do everything for them. I don't like working with people who don't take responsibility and don't take action. right? So, of course, the flip side is I like working with action takers. I like working with people who are excited, are motivated, and have a mission. And they're like, yeah, I want to do this. And, no, I just need a little help. I need a little support. And, give me your advice based on 25 years of doing this and helping people make a lot of money. I'm like, great, let's go, let's do it. And, people get it done. They do their homework, they take action, and boom, that's when they get what I like to call the hockey stick results. Like go ahead and go like this and then whoop, hockey stick. So it's very exciting.
That is really awesome. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I focus in on a very specific end user. I'm working with college students, fraternity and sorority members, trying to make college campuses safer. I mean, it doesn't get any more specific than that. Do people, try to get us into the corporate market and other places? Sure, they try, but I'm laser focused on where I want to spend my time. And I got to make that decision. And I think ultimately that is what has created this entity, Greek University, that is just really kind of taken over in terms of the space. And so that's really exciting. Now, we are very privileged to be at schools of higher education, myself included, as I wrap up my doctorate degree. So how do we use more of what we already have in order to get all of the wealth and happiness that we want?
Right, and that goes to the final of the fourth focus factor, which is money. And so if you think about this, and for everybody listening, just really hone in on this for 1 second. It's very important because when we look at the 4 focus factors of what creates an abundant life, right? What creates a happy life, a successful life, whatever you wish to call it, a fulfilled life. You have time, energy, relationships, and money. Now, if you're missing any of these, right, life ain't so great. But what I want people to realize is that you already have all these things. But here's the mistake that everybody makes. The mistake everybody makes is they say, oh man, I wish I had more blank. I wish I had more, and it always comes down to these 4 things. I wish I had more time. I wish I had more energy. I wish I had better relationships, meaning, I don't have the right connections. And, I wish I had more money. So everybody's sitting around wishing and hoping. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that ain't going to work, right? In terms of getting you a result, right? Wishing and hoping is not a strategy, right? It's a strategy for unhappiness, basically. But when we look at using what we already have to get what we really want, I call that the peg method. So imagine that you're climbing a mountain, right? And you're using these pegs or, crampons or whatever you want to call it, right? And you go, boom, all right, I'm right here, and you could be literally right here. I'm standing on the ground and I'm just putting my first peg in, but I'm standing here. Now I can get my next peg. I can reach to about there. Okay, boom. Now what do? You climb up and then you move the peg to the next one. Boom. All right. Ooh, now I'm 2 feet off the ground. All right. Now you go to the next one. Boom. Right. And that's how you move up the ladder, move up the chain and become more successful. That's one of the reasons that I share my story, starting with nothing, 25 years ago in a 300 square foot basement apartment with no money. But I had something, and there's an old saying, we've all heard this, that it's not about your resources, it's about your resourcefulness. And I do agree with that. I think that's very, very true. But it really comes down to this mindset shift of saying, okay, look, you have 24 hours in a day. Elon Musk doesn't have more time than you. Bill Gates doesn't have more time. Richard Branson, nobody has more time than you have right now. Now, I understand, everybody say, well, I'm so busy, man, I don't have any time. You're lying to yourself. I hate to break it to you, but you're lying. Now, you might say, well, okay, I've got these 24 hours, but I've also got all these responsibilities. Well, no kidding. So then if you want to do something greater than what you're doing right now, what is it you're going to stop doing? And you might realize that you're spending 3 to 5 hours a day watching Netflix or on your screen or literally wasting time on social media, like I was just talking about. And remember, those companies want to keep you addicted. They want to keep you addicted. So don't let them win. Don't let them win. Take back your power. And that's just when the element of time. It's the same with money. Oh, I don't have any money. Really? You have no money? Then, you're not alive. I mean, so no, you have something. You must have something. So we've got to use what we have. I'm the perfect example. I had $800. So what did I do with that $800? I said, well, I don't know what to do with it, but I better invest it wisely so that I can use that peg method to get to the next level. And it took me well over 10 years in business to really reach my first 6-figure year. And, that's way too long. But remember, I had lousy teachers. So all the people listening, you don't have to go through the hell that I did. So anyway, that's just, it's really becomes more of a philosophy and a mindset shift of using what you already have to get more of what you really want.
Beautiful. Now, the college students today, they're always wondering if they're on the right path. So they're always comparing themselves to others to say, oh, is the grass greener over there? Am I on the right path? And what sometimes happens is you almost get paralysis where
Yes.
they actually aren't moving forward. They're not moving the pegs.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, what if our college students feel that they're just stuck right now? Is there a way for them to get unstuck so that way they can start moving again?
Absolutely. I mean, that's really what I help people with, is getting unstuck, going from that, that plateau I was just talking about to that hockey stick, whoop, where they're really getting amazing results. And so, what's ironic about that is there's something called decision fatigue. And that means that we humans can only really make so many decisions in a given day, week, month, time frame. And the irony is, because we have an infinite amount of choices today, that can be just as paralyzing as having not enough choices. So to use a very extreme example, somebody who's in prison, they don't have many choices, but they're actually, their life is kind of simple, because it's like, well, not much I can do here, so might as well just read a book or something, and I mean, I'm exaggerating, but to make a point. Now, for those of us not in prison, which I hope you're not, but for those of us not in prison, you're like, it's kind of the opposite problem. Like, oh my God, I got too much. I mean, you could do a million billion things out there, and that can be just as paralyzing to the human brain. So going back to my point of finding your why to, right? You've got to find, what is your mission? What is your why to? What impact do you want to have on this planet while you're alive? Right. And all of us have to find the answer to that. I have ways to help people do that in my books, my training, my coaching. I help a lot of people who say, geez, no, I don't really know what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I mean, we've helped people from teenagers all the way up to people in their 60s and 70s and everywhere in between. And so the point is that, whatever it is that you want to do, there are so many resources out there that just were never there before. So, avail yourselves of a coach, a mentor, a teacher, someone who's done what you want, number one, but more importantly, someone who's helped others do it. Because what we see in this industry is we see a lot of what I call great, self-promoters. And they're saying, hey man, look at all my money. I became really successful, and look at how cool I am. And you're like, well, that's great. Have you helped anybody else? And they're like, well, look at my plane, look at my helicopter. And you're like, okay, that's great, man. How about anybody else, right? Because if you don't have, case studies, from that mentor, then you're basically, usually 99 times out of 100, you're dealing with somebody with an outsized personality. In other words, I call it personality-driven success versus system-driven success. So you want to look for a coach, a mentor with system-driven success. That's why, like I said, on our website, you can see hundreds and hundreds of case studies, so that it's not just about me. More importantly, it's about our students and our clients who have gotten amazing results as a result of following the formula. So you want to have somebody who has a system, a formula, a blueprint, a checklist, so that you can literally just fill in the blanks, paint by numbers. And, that's what's really going to speed you towards your goals so much faster.
There you go. Find the right mentor. That's what it's
Right.
really all about for the college students. And you're also a big fan of working smarter, not necessarily harder. So, how do we get more free time back to spend with friends and family while still getting that hockey
Right.
stick acceleration?
Well, I'll give you an example from one of my clients to illustrate the point. So, I talk about taking out your head trash, something you mentioned before, which is basically, I've written 20 books on this one subject, taking out your head trash, right? And so, again, you can see all that on our website, but basically, I was talking with one of my clients, and his name's Charles, and I said, Charles, how much do you think it's going to cost you if we don't take out your head trash this year? In other words, if you don't take out your head trash, what are you going to lose? And without batting an eye, he said $1 million. I'm going to lose $1 million this year. Meaning, if I don't take out this head trash, or I don't get this problem fixed, I'm going to lose out on $1 million. I know that I'm holding myself back, and I can't figure out how to stop holding myself back. Because, he'd read my books and, heard me on different programs, and he was like, I totally get what you're saying, but I don't know how to get out of this. So in other words, it's going to cost me $1 million. So I said, okay, listen, I hear that a lot, whether people say I'm going to lose 100,000 or $1 million or 5 million or 10 million this year because of this head trash if I don't fix this. So I said, I tell you what, you give me 10% of that $1 million, and I will find you that $1 million in the next 12 months. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He goes, yeah, that's a really good deal. I said, okay, well, let's do it. So he paid me $100,000. That's 10% of $1 million, right? So we worked together. I showed him how to, do all this, and we worked through it one-on-one coaching, right? And I didn't find him $1 million in 12 months. I found him 1.8 million in 10 months.
Wow.
So he was going like this and whop, hockey stick. And what's amazing about that is not only did I find him all that money, so in other words, he gave me $1, I gave him $18 back. That's not a good deal, that's a great deal. And then not only that, but he was able to go on a 7-week vacation. He bought a new RV. He and his wife were touring the Southeast. And he said, no, I've never had this before. I've never had more money and more time. And so that's why, going back to, the 7-figure life, when you leverage what you have to get more of what you want, you learn how to leverage your time. You only have the same amount of time as everyone else, but it's what you're doing with your time, the energy, the relationships, and the money, like I've been talking about. I mean, that's when we see that hockey stick growth. It's very exciting.
Wow, that's definitely worth it for him. I mean, he got $18 back for every dollar he gave you. How do I do more of that?
Yeah, hello.
Exactly. That's awesome. And these 20 books, I mean, you have books published by all the major publishers. I'm just curious. I mean, what else is in your head? What is the next topic you want to tackle after the 7-figure life?
Oh man, you wouldn't believe it, but I got 2 more books coming out this year. So the next one is called The 7-Figure Expert. So I'm teaching people how to, be a highly paid expert online, whether you're a coach, a course creator, a consultant. So it's called The 7-Figure Expert. That'll be out later this year. And I'm also partnering up with a stem cell doctor, and we're going to be coming out with a book called The Anti-Aging Code to help people with their anti-aging. Because we have in my company at successclinic.com, we have a book done for you service. So we help authors or business professionals or anybody really get their book done. And so this doctor hired me, and he actually said to me, hey Noah, you know what, can you just co-author this with me, because we were just going to do it for him, but he said, you know what, I think we should just co-author and partner up. I'm like, okay, that's a great idea. So anyway, I'm partnering up with him, and it's an amazing book. We're in the process of writing it. It's very exciting because we're helping people with anti-aging, which is something that only a few tens of millions of people are interested in. So anyway, yeah, so that's what's coming down the pike. And then we got more in 2024. And anyway, good Lord willing, we'll be around for a while.
Wow, that's amazing. You always have like 10 irons in the fire. That's what I love about you. You're always working on all these really cool projects. So it's kind of fun to kind of see what's next, what's coming down the river. I want to get a sneak peek at some of that stuff.
It's coming soon.
I think that's great. All right. So if our college student listeners, if they want to bring you in to speak on their college campus, maybe they want to hire you as a coach, where can they go to connect with you and also buy your new book?
Okay, so here we go. It's booknoah.com. Real easy to remember. If you want to book me as a speaker, booknoah.com. Who should we book? Booknoah.com. Very easy to remember. So that's number 1. Number 2 is Breakthrough with Noah. If you want to learn about my coaching, again, easy to remember. Breakthrough, right? We're going to help you that breakthrough. Breakthroughwithnoah.com. And then to get the 7-figure life, very easy to remember, 7figurelifebook.com. The number 7, 7figurelifebook.com. And we also, because you're listening to this program, you get over $300 worth of free bonus gifts when you go to 7figurelifebook.com and get the book through that link there. So, yep, lots of ways to find out about me, and would love to come in and speak. This is it's such an important message, and of course, I know I'm biased, but I really believe it's a really important message for everybody to hear, whether you're in college or whether you're not in college. But it's really important to realize that you have the power. That's my basic message here, is you have way more power than you think. And I just want you to get out of that victim mentality of, oh, I don't have enough, or I'm not enough. No, I mean, remember, I came from not enough. And I mean, I decided to commit suicide at age 25. So if somebody like me could figure out how to turn their lives around, then I know that anybody can do it.
Yeah, I'm sure glad that you're here with us today and sharing all this great information. I know the college student listeners right now are really motivated. They're going to go out and pick up your book, 7figurelifebook.com. And I mean, that's what they're laser focused on. They're laser focused right now on their careers and making money, because when they were growing up, they saw companies just crumbling.
Yes.
And their parents, or maybe their parents' friends, ended up losing their jobs. So now they're just hyper focused on making money and making a career. Yes. And, so that's why I love working with them. I mean, they're the perfect generation to work with, because they're laser focused on what you care about.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I just remember, you have more power than you think. So take back that power. Don't let those companies, the social media companies or whatever, even the gurus, don't let them take your power. be laser focused. And, I guess my message is you can do it. You can do a lot more than you think you can.
I appreciate that. All right. So thank you so much, Noah, for being on the show. It's a pleasure as always.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. And to our listeners, if you like this conversation with Noah, make sure that you like it. Make sure that you share it on social media. And we hope to see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.